Oh, wow.
Saw it twice, so I was like, oh my god.
That was just weird.
I always used to see a light coming up, like a headlight, but there was nobody there.
Oh, it's just disappeared.
Hello everybody, welcome to Sunday night Truth Proof live stream. Hope you're all well. We've got all doors open here, it's warm, and I think it'll be the same where most people are. We want a bit of rain, and hope you've all had a good week. It's been a busy one for myself. Few things happened to us in the world of the strange, and whilst we've been up on them cliff tops, which we might touch on today, there's been a few people up on and off all week, but quite by surprise, spoke to a friend of mine who was in the chat, Joe, today, and she told me that they went up to Willie Howe, the burial mound in East Yorkshire. For the people that don't know where it is, you can be able to Google it. And they went up yesterday, and they had a strange experience at Willie Howe, which doesn't surprise me. And Steve, who was with them, and Andy was with Steve and Joe as well. And Steve's going to come on and tell us a little bit about what happened. So that were quite unexpected, and it's lucky to get Steve on and share that bit of information with us. I've got, I think we might have Lee doing the moderating. I hope Alison's going to be with us as well. Gemma's going to do moderating as well tonight, which is great. Not that we ever need any, but famous last words, because we've got over 150 people in here now. We'll just do a bit of a name check. So we've got Elaine's in. Linny's wife, Linny will be in, Mia Girl, Rick Bennett awake, Lassie Lee's there, Sober Carper, Liam, Freewheel, let's have a look, Robert, I missed that one as it flipped up, Robert Hilton, there we go, 40 and 23, Susan Wiseman, Karen Bierman, thanks for the donation, Karen, really appreciated. Dave Barker, good to see you, Dave. Greg, Blue Carrot's in, I love that name, Blue Carrot, with a Martin Abbas, good to see you, Martin. Liam, Rod. And let's have a look. We've only done a few names. Stargazer Eternal. I think Zeno's probably in, but if he ain't, we'll give him a shout for now. Donna Wellham, Jonathan Chapman, and Mark. And we're going to just bring Steve in, I think, and share this bit of information with you guys. And remember, if you've got some questions for Steve or myself, capital letters, and we'll get them flashed up, and well, let's just see what the next hour brings. Okay. Steve, how are you doing?
Evening, Paul. Evening, everybody.
Yeah, good to see you, mate. And short notice, but I didn't expect when I spoke to Joe that she'd say, well, something strange happened. I mean, Joe's been up on cliff tops and Andy, and I don't mean they've never experienced it, but it just doesn't happen all the time, does it? And me and you first spoke early this year, I think, weren't it? And
yes,
it was about the burial mound of Willie Howe, because how often do you go out walking, Steve? How out and about? Where do you get to?
6. I can go literally maybe, because I'm retired now, 6-7 times a week, Paul, weather permitting. You know what I mean? I'll go, on the beaches and anywhere. But mainly, I love woodland walking, forest walking. Staxton Woods is a favourite. Yeah, absolute favourite.
Well, when I met you earlier in year, Linny, it was myself and Linny that met you, weren't it? And
yes, that's correct,
you shared with us what happened on the burial mound, and we can get to that. But we want to go right back to 1974 first. Really put you on spot today. We're going to make you scratch your head a little bit today. But you think at chances, and like you said, woodland walk. I went up into Staxton Wold probably 4 weeks ago with my eldest daughter, Sarah, and Sarah said, "Oh, there's a bloke up there just stood looking out of it fields," and it was you. Not that it's not impossible, is it?
No, it was nice. No, I just love it. I just love being out. The less people, the better, Paul. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm not antisocial or like that. But I just love nature.
Yeah, well, there's no wrong with that, mate. So let's jump right back. And remember, we do want some questions for Steve tonight, people. And if I don't get through all questions, well, there's nobody else to blame but me. Just blame me, because I'll put them up as I see them. And Alison's there, so thanks for joining us, Alison. Really appreciate it every week. There's Steph, Margaret Webster, Jack. Let's have a look, see if there's any. Mel Suter, good to see you, Mel. And right, take us back to 1974. How old were you?
I was 15 then, Paul.
Yeah.
1 year left at school. Obviously, I lived on my dad's farm. Normal upbringing, you know, fantastic upbringing on the farm. You know, did all the farmy things, you know, and never really experienced anything up until that particular morning.
Whereabouts was this farm, roughly? We don't need to address, but whereabouts roughly?
It's literally 5 minutes away from Hunmanby.
Right.
Hunmanby.
Okay.
It's between Hunmanby and Filey, Paul.
So we're in the zone of strangeness already, aren't we?
Exactly. Slap bang in the middle of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So what happened, Steve, to make this morning different?
Nothing really up till I got up. And like I say, 6 o'clock, I used to go shooting. Then I'd just got my first shotgun certificate. Obviously, rabbits and what have you. And I decided to go out, you know, onto the fields, like that of thing. You know, we had the railway line crosses the farm, it dissects the farm. So obviously you've got to go across that. Went across, and it was about this time of year, haymaking time. Yeah. Walked round. It's about a 300-acre farm, still is. Walked round and didn't see anything, just minding my own business. Came to the hay meadow, one of the hay meadows. They'd already had a couple of cuts round it. Yeah. So it was like not long grass up to the gate. It was like, you know, short, they'd cut it like sort of thing. So I entered, climbed over the gate, entered the field. Started walking across the field basically, and minding my own business, just, you know, nothing really. And I got maybe 12 foot away from where the grass was growing still. Yeah. And I stopped. There was no wind to speak of, no breeze, gentle breeze possibly, and you could see it moving the grass. And I thought, there's something coming this way. You could physically see the grass.
You see the grass moving?
Actually, yeah. But it was strange because it wasn't like an animal would push through it. I don't know. You know, it just didn't. It just looked too, I don't know, too as though somebody was moving it. Yeah. So I thought, right. Fully expecting to see either fox, rabbit, something, you know. Probably a hare maybe, you know what I mean? But I thought, and it's coming straight for where I am. Anyway, I stood. Never, and the funny thing is, never wanted to load, like click my gun. Like,
yeah, I was thinking that as you're talking about it now, you've got a firearm.
No, it's a horrible thing to talk about, and I don't do shooting anymore. You know, so, but it was a single-barreled 12-bore, so it was broken, and I never even thought about clicking it. There was a cartridge in already, but I never thought thing, and I was just mesmerised by how this grass was moving. So just there, and then next thing, it was almost like somebody pulling a curtain back, literally, right? And I thought, what's that? And I just stood and I looked, and I'm a 15-year-old, you know, I'm not a man of the world by any means then. I'm thinking, what am I looking at there? What's this? And there was this, well, a little person, little man, for all intents and purposes. And I thought, oh.
Was he shocked? Did he look shocked when he saw you?
Didn't see me, Paul. He didn't see me. Didn't see me. Right. It was as though he was like walking, head down a bit like that. And then suddenly it's like, oh. who are you? Like,
Yeah, so he
and he
did
looked-
see you. Yeah, that's where I'm
he'd
going.
seen
Yeah.
me. He did see me, and he looked at me, and I looked at him, and I thought, right, what's this? It's 6 o'clock in the morning. Anyway, the next thing I knew, I was still transfixed, and he just sort of half turned his head to one side, like, and his body moved as well. And it was like he put his like head down as if to say, well, you've seen me and I've seen you. I'm going. And he went back exactly through the way he went, exactly, followed the exact route, right? And I could see the grass yet again, like moving it with his hand. And I thought, right, okay, I'll follow. And I followed. I got into the grass, maybe, I don't know, 6-7 foot into the grass, and I lost sight. I couldn't see anything. Lost total sight of him, right? And I thought, I don't know. I just didn't know. I didn't know what it was. And I came back out.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I just came back out, Paul, and I was just like stood, and I'm thinking, was it a man? What? It was a man. It was a little man, and I could tell you nearly what he was wearing.
That's what I'm going to ask.
Yeah, no hat on. He had brown, say trousers, brownish like jacket. Couldn't see boots. I didn't notice boots or anything like that, because I didn't see boots, but I obviously suppose possibly he had them on, possibly not. I don't know. And his face, it was human, definitely human, and it was like it was a very old face, if you know what I mean. But it was definitely human. But and I don't know.
What color? What color was its skin then, Steve? Weathered, tanned, or?
I would say very oldish, like not an old man's face, but a face, like a weathered face,
Yeah. So over years. So right. Okay. You're 14 years old or going on nearly 15. Do you go back to the farm? How do you tell a story like that to your dad or your mum, or didn't you?
Well, again, my dad was a nuts and bolts farmer. You know what I mean? I mean, if he couldn't touch it, like, he didn't believe it. He was one of them. But I know later on that he'd had some experiences himself that he'd never ever let on about. My mother was a typical mother. Okay, I believe you. Get on with housework, get on with farm. You know what I mean?
That's kind of understandable, isn't it? I'll just briefly jump to cliff tops, and some of these rock anglers have seen some incredible things. And anybody in chat who comes up there with us, Linny in particular, knows what I'm going to say. Well, what did you do? Did you? No, we were fishing. They just observe it. They're not there for that. It's almost nonchalant that they've seen it. I know that you've seen it and it's stuck with you now all these years. Now, so where are we going to go next? Do you think? Hold on. I'll read this one rather than Carol Pointer says, Steve, do you think it was the Fae?
Looking back now, definitely. It was, almost certainly, because I mean, that's what I've always been interested in. From that point on, that is what I've really been always interested in. And like I say,
you're not far from Flixton. You're very close to Flixton there, and I haven't spoke to him for a while. Certainly not this year. But a farmer from Flixton who was a little boy claimed that I think he saw 5 of them walking abreast up the farmyard. And then they were in his room, and he thought he'd had a vivid dream. I'm going to do this one quick because I'm hoping we've got time to get through all of these little bits of yours. And he thought it were a vivid dream until he got downstairs having his breakfast in the morning, and his sister said the same thing. you know, on the different rooms. And you'll know that, this farmer, to be honest with you. And
I do.
yeah,
Well,
so there you go.
Yeah.
And in fact, he wanted to meet me up North Yorkshire in one at Forest's about something, and I'm going to have to do that. But let's have a look. Could the man have come from a time slip? Did he look like he came from the same time period? Obviously, you can see, guys, I'm just reading these and not putting them up.
Yeah. Oh, I honestly think no. I mean, is time different in their realm to ours? That's what I've often thought. You know, is it?
It's interesting that word realm. They talk about the fairy realm.
Yeah. You know, and I think, you know, I don't know. I mean, it was nuts and bolts there. It was a living. What? It wasn't a figment of my imagination or anything like that. It was real. It was real.
Yeah. Well, it's a pretty, I don't know, obvious question, really. It's Lisa's put. So, what was strange about it? The fact that he just appeared. Before Steve answers that, Lisa, I'd say it was really strange. I mean, we're looking at a miniature man. How high do you think?
3 foot, Paul. No more than 3 foot. So,
okay,
you know, I mean, a lot of people think pretty tall for a, you know, something of that from that realm, like, you know what I mean. But
so how to address? So what was strange about it, as Lisa says? I think everything was strange, me, but
just everything, Lisa, because it shouldn't have. Well, I mean, it was probably okay itself being there. It looked to me, all intents and purposes, like it had a mission, you know.
Yeah.
And I just got in its way. It was definitely going to do something, or on its way somewhere, you know. And you know, but a little 3 foot man is, you know, you think that's odd.
and I saw Studio Productions. Let's just get this question up here. Let's have a look. I don't want to put wrong one up like I've just done. There we go. Was this man's proportions correct for his stature?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, there's nothing like odd. You know, I mean, no, it was right. I would think there was nothing sort of odd about it. You know,
we've got to move on in a minute, but we'll just have a look at this one. Could the man have come from a time slip? Did he look like he came from the same time period? I think you've been watching Time Bandits, Jonathan. I'm only joking. But I mentioned Time Bandits to Linny other night. It's a film he'd not seen. I'm sure it was. Well, Linny spoke about it too.
Yeah. It could have done. I mean, who knows? Time slips, they happen, don't they? People experience them.
Okay, so let's jump forward then. So we're going to come back to the present. You've not seen anything like that, I don't think, since until very early this year, had you? Or experienced anything that could be related to that? Am I correct?
Yeah, that's it, Paul. Yeah, not that I know of. No, nothing like that at all. You know.
So walk us into that then. Earlier this year, you phoned me up probably the following day or a few days later, and me and Linny came and spoke. You know, spent an hour or so with you, didn't we?
Yeah. No, it was a lovely, like March. I think it was March time. I can't remember now. Beautiful morning, and I just spur at the moment thought, go for a walk. Oh, I'll have a look at Willie Howe. Because I love that place. There's just something that is right about it, or not.
And for our listeners, before you get into it, for our listeners that don't know what Willie Howe is, it's not a person. Willie Howe is a burial mound in East Yorkshire, and probably about 8 miles from Hummonby. Would it be about 6 or 8 miles from Hummonby? Which is where you used to live when you had your experience on the farm years ago.
Yeah.
But what's special about Willie Howe is, if you guys Google it, you'll find that it's probably got more stories about the Fae and strange occurrences as a tumuli, as a burial mound, than any other place in the United Kingdom, as just one single burial mound that stands alone. So that's covered that. So you tell us what happened.
Yeah, so jumped in car, got there maybe I don't know. It wasn't late and it wasn't early, really. About 9:30, maybe something like that in the morning, like sort of thing. So, I just go because it is so peaceful. There's just something there that, So I walked around it like you do, many times walked around it, and obviously at that time of year there's no vegetation as such. It's no canopies in full leaf or out like that. So I decided to go onto it, because you go up it and then obviously when it's been dug out, you can go down it. Did that, fine, everything fine. Then came back out and I thought, right, I'll go around the sort of backside of it and I'll sit. I'll climb, and I climbed up and there's a beautiful tree and I was taking photos at trees. Sat down, had a flask with me, and I just sat there and I was just feeling lovely warm sun on my face and thinking, God, I wish the winter could be like this all the time.
Yeah.
And I sat and I just had a pardon me, the cup out. I heard this God Almighty clang. Right. Well, I thought, what's that? And I half turned round. I didn't jump up. I half turned round expecting to see somebody at the back of me with some, I don't know, or farm machinery. Like, because it is obviously in the middle of a field of crop. Like, it's potatoes at the moment. And I thought, nothing there. I thought, what's that?
And did it sound really close?
Oh, God, yeah. And then, but the weirdest point was, I felt like as though when somebody drops something really damn heavy near you, you feel the vibration go up your leg. You know what I mean? I thought, what's that? And I looked down, fully expecting to see something, nothing there. Then I stood up and I thought, what? And I thought, no, I can't think, this is weird, is this? I thought, what the hell is this? There was no tractors, there was no farm machinery, there was no road noise at that time. I thought, no. Anyway, I thought, wow. So I thought, sit down, finish your drink, blah, blah, blah. And I did. And I must have sat for about another 20 minutes. And I thought, right, okay, I'm going now. So I got back to the car, I opened the car light, sat in my car light, and I thought, oh, right, I'll just have a look at them photos at trees. Because there's some magnificent trees on that. There really is, as you'll know, Paul.
Yeah.
I opened my phone, got my phone out. Now my phone was in a waistcoat, zipped up, and I had my big coat on top of that as well, zipped up as well. So I had like 2 zips to go into, to get into.
Yeah.
I got it out and turned it on, and it was on me, was my phone, it was on. Anyway, I thought going through them like sort of thing. I come to this, I thought pictures, like saw the picture of the trees, like then I saw video. It's a recording here. What's this all about? So I haven't done that. I had my phone out, put the record on, as you've heard the noise.
Yeah.
Right, this clang noise, but it's on bloody repeat. It kept playing on repeat. And I'm thinking, how's that? That never came out of my pocket. How the hell is that? And it literally videoed the ground in front of me, which was weird as well.
Yeah.
Because it never came out of my pocket. So I just can't explain it.
Yeah, well, you at the time, you've sent me the sound, and for the people in here who are maybe a little bit late, this is a last-minute thing bringing Steve on today. I got to speak to Joe, who went to visit Willie Howe with him and Andy last night, and that's the reason we're here. Otherwise, I'd have had that sound. So if we get you back on here at some point, we'll play the sound as well. Yeah, it's not earth shattering, it's not the smoking gun, but it's interesting that you've sort of recorded that, and then you contacted, as I say, me and myself and Linny, and we came up and spoke with you, didn't we?
Yeah, you did.
Well, I don't know whether this is going to spark any memories for you here, but I'll put it up. Linny, can you remember what you told me and Paul, what you saw at Willie Howe when you were waiting for us?
Yes. Yeah, I can. Yeah. Prior to you coming, Paul, I'd been up maybe half an hour, just walking around, mooching about, and where the car parked, where there's a bit of a lay-by thing, and I looked and I thought, I swear blind, there's somebody, or I thought at first it was somebody literally stood near my back doors, back
of your car. Yeah.
And I thought, there's somebody there. I thought, who's that? So I started walking down the track, watching. And then I must have took my eyes off it for seconds. Looked back, and I thought, that's gone. It's gone.
And it weren't us. We'd not arrived at that time, had we?
There was nobody there, Paul, because I thought,
no.
Is it somebody on a bike? And I come back and I thought, no, that's odd. And then when Ian came, I asked you, I said, have you passed anybody? Like walking or on a bike? And it said, no, nobody. And I thought, well, I know there's two ways you can get out of Willie, isn't there? You can go straight or you can turn left. But even for somebody to have legged it down there, they couldn't have done it.
It's strange in view of nature of why we were coming to speak to you. And do you think there's some connection to what you saw as a young lad that's sort of, I don't know, linked you to what you potentially could be experiencing at the burial mound of Willie Howe?
I would have to say yes, Paul. Yeah, I would. Yeah, I would. Yes, I would. Whether these things link, I think they can link to you, whatever experience, and stay with you as well. Then maybe if you're lucky or unlucky, in later years, they can happen again.
Yeah. Well, just before we go, move on to what happened last night. In fact, let's just put this question up from. I think we're going to jump back to first occurrence. Did Steve, did he appear friendly at the time it happened? Can you remember whether the air was still or the atmosphere changed? We're going back to the first one, 15 years old.
Yeah. Well, like I say, it was this time of year, beautiful summer's morning, June. It was, funnily enough, June again. I don't know. I just thought about that. And yeah, it was a beautiful morning, still. Warm, you know what I mean? Just beautiful.
But nothing's. You know how some people, Steve, we've had them on cliff tops, and we've got friends who've come with us on cliff tops, and they've said everything just went quiet, like I'm in a vacuum. None of that.
Yeah. But I can't say, Paul. But I mean, obviously, you're just lost in that moment of when you see something odd, unusual. You think, it is just as though everything, you can't hear anything, like, you know what I mean? And it's odd. It really is.
So Steve says, were you fascinated rather than scared? Was it fascinated? Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't scare me at all. I have no fear of whatever they are, the fae, call them the fae, or the worldly creatures. I'm not a fear of them at all.
Okay, thank you. So before we move on then, because as I say, it's great. It's made it so easy for me, this, Steve. But a few weeks ago, I've been saying it now for last month. I've been putting audio recorders in Danes Dyke, in really remote areas where they don't get footfall, off the paths. Yeah. I'm not trying to record people. I'm trying to record strange animal noises, anything. Yeah. And I retrieved one in the week. And it's an hell of a job, to be honest with you, because I'd got 5 days of recording, and it's not recording constantly. It's voice activated or sound activated. But on this one, it'd give me 8 files and there's we're through hours and hours of noise, because it'll do the full dawn chorus every morning, and any noise that it hears, and if you get a particularly active blackbird in a tree, do you know what I mean? That's what it's doing. Mm-hmm. But I only had I've only listened to them tonight, but I noted about 6 times during the night when owls are hooting, there's a sound, and I don't know whether it's like after it, and I've only put 2 of them on. I'm gonna collect them all. I don't know whether it sounds like a door shutting or a gun. I just want to play it. The first one's quite subtle. I literally just rendered these 2 little 10-second clips off. I want to do all 6. There's 6 over the full 5 days. So let's just play this one. So you'll have to wait till end, people, and then we'll get back to Steve and what happened. So you'll have to listen hard for the first one. Let's just do this. Ignore the picture. Okay, so you heard the sound. There's nothing dramatic there, but you heard the sound. That's in middle at night. It could have been a branch cracking on a tree, but these sounds, because you can see it spiking in waveform, they're only when the owls are hooting. So here's the second one, and this one's a bit louder. And then there's different ones, different variations of bird song and owls. But we'll just do these two. I don't know. What do you guys think? I'd sort of value people in chat. I've thought, I said to Steve earlier, is it a gun? Is it? It sounds like a door shutting to me. It's odd. There's 6 of them, all different. And as I say, I've had so much to do today. I haven't got through them all. Just like if I'd have thought, we'd have had your sound, what you recorded at Willie Howe. But you know, that's a last minute job.
I think we're all trying to look for, a plausible explanation for it, aren't we?
Yeah. I perhaps shouldn't have played it because it's going to detract in some questions. But let's just get this question from Rick Bennett. Let's have a look. Have you? There you go, Rick. Have you considered it could have been an alien encounter? I'm expecting Rick to read it. I need my head looking at, don't I?
Yeah. I have, and I think the first time somebody said that as well. And a well-known experiencer said that to me as well.
Right.
Contacted her about it a long time ago, and
okay.
She said, okay. Do you think it could have been? And I said, well, anything's possible, isn't it? Yeah, why not? Why not?
I agree, and that's what's good about not just Truth Proof live stream, but all these kind of streams, because everybody's got an opinion, and anybody's opinion and theory could be correct, or at least portion of it. And
sorry to interrupt you, Paul, but just going back to the sighting I had in 1974, right, in the hayfield, right, there was, and it was in the adjacent field as well with grass, because the other one used to run parallel to the Filey Golf Club.
Yeah,
one of the tees down there, and that was used for hay as well, predominantly. And in that field of grass, there was what you could call a crop circle.
Really?
Flat grass, literally, yeah.
And was that crop circle in 74, or don't you know?
I think it could have been round about then, Paul, 74, 75, you know what I mean? Because we had another horrible experience on the farm, actually, in 75.
Yeah, well, we'll not do that one today.
No.
I know about it, and I think it's very graphic. So yeah. And but thanks. And I'll tell you what I like about what you've just said there, Steve. I suggest we'll do that question in a moment. I said, and was that 74? And you goes, could have been 75. You didn't say, yeah, it was 74, and trying to attach more truth and more proof to your experience. You're just saying it as you thought it. And that to me, is more validity. So let's look at Scotch Mist. Could it be a nature spirit? Most similar reports are from farms.
Yeah, definitely Scotch. I think so. Yeah, we'll call them nature spirits, whatever they are. I mean, farms are well documented, as you'll know, Paul, like Yorkshire farms and stuff, boggarts, and your brownies and stuff in Scotland and places like that, which frequent farms. Used to do. And
we're probably just different names for the same thing, Steve.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah.
We may as well keep showing these questions. Let's have a look. Was this man's fashion correct for his age?
I would say a bit hard to say. Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, it was definitely wearing these brown trousers, leggings. I mean, literally, they weren't like you'd say on Lord of the Rings or out like that, where they all wear these leather, fantastic, like that. just ordinary. Just ordinary.
Well,
you know, but just not right, if you know what I mean.
well, do you know in the first book, Steve? I think it was Truth Proof 1. I received a report from an old gentleman from Burton Fleming, which is very close to Willie Howe, as you know.
Yeah.
And he walked his dog like you go out most mornings, 6-7 days a week. Well, he walked his dog most mornings, and I'd never seen anything until one morning, and he claimed that there were a little being, and he didn't say it was tiny. He said about 30-inch tall. Somebody will correct me and say I said 24 in book, because I can't remember. It's like 10 years ago. Stood near the burial mound, but he described it as looking in highly unusual clothing. You know, similar to what we're talking about. You've just mentioned Lord of the Rings. He also said he thought its eyes were black. Yeah, absolutely black, and that put him off. He stopped walking that route. So whereas you had some kind of encounter that didn't frighten you, this man's experience it frightened him. So it's fascinating. I'm just going down to see if we've got any more questions. Rivington Pike's got one here. I think. Oh, right. Yeah, there we go. Was Mr. Miniman carrying anything, Steve?
No, it didn't appear to be. No, he hadn't anything in his hands or anything like that. It was just like walking, you know, right side like sort of thing, and you could see when it turned like he hadn't anything. He was carrying out. So.
Who would have thought that this story, literally, how long do you think it lasted? From seeing the grass parting to it departing, a minute?
Oh, maybe three or 4
really?
minutes.
Yeah, okay.
Definitely. Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, 3 or 4 minutes. Yes. Yeah.
That's interesting.
No more than that, I would say. You know what I mean? Well,
it's a long time, you know. I'm not saying you're wrong, but you sort of if you ever look at your watch and you think, right, I'm going to time myself a minute, and I'm looking at it in 30 seconds, thinking my minute's up. Do you know what I mean? So it's difficult. So we've got Zeno. Steve, can you remember if there was anything significant happening in your life at the time? Stress, fear? Archonic entities latch onto for feeding. Have you seen it lately?
Never seen it again, Zay. No, not that. Nothing like that. In as clear as that. Let's put it that way. No, I mean, 15 years old, life was good. You know, like I say, you're just carefree, aren't you? You know what I mean? All then. You know,
so I'm conscious at time, although we don't have to just shut it down, bang up 8 o'clock, providing you're okay. But I don't want to break into your time, Steve. So we've done the 15-year-old account, and if there's any more questions for it, you feel free to put them in. I don't mean we're closing that down. We've come to March this year with the strange sounds around the burial mound, which were interesting because, and we'll get to that in a moment. If you remember, I spoke quite by chance to a young fella who'd camped overnight in Danes Dyke around the same time, a bit earlier in the year, but not there weren't much time between. And I'd asked him if he'd experienced anything during the night, and he'd not come for unexplained phenomena. He'd just come because he wanted to camp in Dyke. And he said during the night he'd heard, when he was describing it to me, it reminded me of a 360 or a JCB bucket being dragged along concrete. He said he heard some heavy steel being dragged along concrete. And bear in mind, people, he's in a woodland on top of a cliff. There's no machinery. There's nothing. So how did that occur? There's no machinery where you had your experience in March.
No. What is it?
And you know, a lot of these cases in America, people report hearing what they think are car doors slamming. You know, we've just had that owl hoot and that sound. There's I think there's definitely 5. I think there's 6 of them that are all slightly different, with the bang at the end that sounds mechanical to me. You know, it doesn't sound. It doesn't sound like a bird. I mean, I'm not ruling out that it couldn't have been a gun, but I don't know who's going to be in there. But you can't rule anything out, can you? No. So we'll jump forward then to last night, if you want, and walk us into that one.
Yeah. Well, you know, it was something I've always wanted to do. I've never done it. You know, obviously with Stonehenge being too far away and that, like, just see the sunrise on the summer solstice. you know. So I'd been there 3 o'clock yesterday morning, yesterday morning by myself. I thought, I'm going to Willie out, you know, why not? And literally, I was there for 3 o'clock, saw the sunrise, absolutely fantastic, brilliant experience. And I was there a couple of hours, literally. Nothing at all untoward, nothing. Beautiful. It was so quiet and still. Like I said, there's a crop of potatoes planted all the way around Willie Howe now. And on one side, there's a wheat field. On the other side, there's a barley field. I even saw 2 barn owls hunting. Now, that's a hell of a sight, beautiful. So that's how quiet instantly, nothing. Saw that, went home, that was it. You know what I mean? Then I knew I was going because we'd had it planned for a long time. Me, Joe, and Andy, we'd discussed it going to Willie Howe. And I said, well, you know, one of us said, well, why don't we go midsummer? I says, yeah, fine, weather permitting. So that's what we did. We met up last night. So Joe and Andy said, we'll be there about 9:30. I says, okay, no problem. So I like to get there early doors. Me, I'm a sod for that, like, you know what I mean? So I was there about an hour and a half earlier, you know, and we took chairs and like, and we were just going to, you know, whatever, do a bit of sky watching because it's a good view point there, and whatever. And you just don't go thinking you're going to see something or experience something. You know, I just didn't. I didn't anyway.
Well, you'd invited me as well. I mean, I just had so much on, I couldn't make it. But
yeah. So we met up, like, blah blah blah, and like I say, by that time it was getting a bit dusky. Sun was going down. You could see the sun going down. Blah blah blah, and it just, everything just seemed to bloody kick off. Every you know what I mean? I mean, I'd heard just before Joe and Andy arrived, I heard what I thought was water, like a water, literally like water running. I thought, what's that? That sounds like water, but it's so like overgrown now that it's a bit difficult to get up and into it. You know what I mean? I had done,
but I can assure you, Stephen, I think you know there's no water running or around the burial mound.
No.
Probably, and you'll agree with me, probably 100 yards away, maybe 2, there's the Gypsy Race, the stream, which is.
And I thought straight away, Gypsy Race. Then I thought, no, don't be silly. It'll be so low now, dry nearly. It's unbelievable. No, I thought impossible. So I thought, somebody water that, I'm sure. So that was that. Joe and Andy came, blah blah blah. We, you know, chewing the fat and that line. And next thing, the first thing that happened was we'd got settled. I don't know, maybe about half an hour, 3/4 of an hour that we should have been there. And we were sat in 3 chairs, like with our backs towards Willie Howe, looking out at the sky and that, like, blah, blah, blah. And I got up to stretch my legs. And Andy said something. And I can't remember what it was, but it was funny. And I started laughing. And I literally just started laughing. And the next thing I thought, right, what I felt this, and I know what it was. It was a hand, and it was on me, just like that, right? But it was so hot. It was as though somebody had just put it in front of an electric fire.
Yeah.
And I recoiled back. Andy, I think, says, what the bloody hell's that? And that happened. I went, somebody just touched my face. I went, literally, somebody has just touched my cheek, right? And I was gobsmacked. I was just amazed. But it wasn't nastily. It wasn't nasty or anything. I was going to
say, what it frightening?
No. It was like, but I know what a hand feels like on your face when somebody touches you like that. You know what I mean? And I thought, Jesus, what the hell? You know, you just like, you know what I mean? You just in bloody.
So that happened, and how did it progress after that?
So that, like, you know what I mean? We just talking about it for a bit, like, and that, and then I mean, I think if you're interested in this subject, you just like, not dismiss it, like, but you just carry on talking as though, you know, like a lot of people maybe would have thought, that's it, I'm off, gone. we carried on talking and that, like, you know, and then as it got more and a bit more darker and that, like, Andy kept, I think it was either Andy or Joe at the start, kept noticing these flashes. It wasn't lightning, and it was over definitely towards Benton Way, Flamborough, from where we were looking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, just like these random flashes.
Flashes of light, obviously in the sky. Yeah.
In the sky, yeah, definitely in the sky. Yeah, from the horizon in the sky. You know. So we were looking, blah blah blah, and then I saw them. But the ones I saw were, it was almost as though they were, literally, they were like white balls, right? What appeared? They appeared, and then all of a sudden they just flashed out like that. And I says, "Did you see that?" And Andy says, "Yeah, I seen that, seen it." So, you know,
interesting that, Steve, because we were up there last week, and Gareth Hawkins came down. I don't know if Gareth's in chat. He travelled down a good distance, Liverpool, I believe. And Gareth and Linny saw what they described as a camera flash. And we're not talking about on horizon. We're talking about just out in sea from where we're observing, just on the sea. Yeah. There's no boats. Yeah. And for anybody that wants to say, oh, you could have been mistaken, there might have been a boat, it weren't dark. They saw it. Both of them erupted into, did you see that? I saw one. And it's interesting that you're saying it and you were looking towards that direction, because we're seeing them quite often. And what we need and what we're going to try and do, and Jack's on it and Linny's on it, we're all, Jeremy, we're all thinking the same thing, and we're going to set a bank of cameras up, east, north, west, you know, and just let them film while we're there. Yeah. And at least we've got a chance of capturing it, because by the time you've got your camera out, it's over. It's over before you've told anybody else.
Andy had his psionics last night, you know what I mean? And he couldn't even see anything, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, through the flashes, you know what I mean? So, and Joe saw them as well, like, you know what I mean? So they definitely were, you know, it wasn't lightning. We know it wasn't lightning. So that was that one. And
so what time are we now during the evening? What time are we roughly?
That would probably, that one, maybe 9:45, 10 to 10, Paul, something like that. I can't really tell. Definitely sun had gone down, you know what I mean?
So let's move forward then. Yeah. And so what happened then?
So we there, like, sort of thing, talking, chewing fat again, like, and then Andy was really quiet, like, and he was like, as though he'd seen something in distance, where he was sat, like, looking over, I would say Unnaby, towards Unnaby, if you want to put it like that, you know what I mean? And he was really intense, you know, looking. Anyway, he says, "What do you make of that, Steve? There." I went, "What?" He went, "Through camera there." He says, "You can't see it with naked eye." I went, "Okay." And I looked, and he didn't say what he'd seen, right? And that's important, was that, like, I thought, because he's not said how he'd identified it, like, you know what I mean? So I looked at it, like, and I says, "Oh God." And it was in the distance, right? And there was there's a line of trees, and then it breaks, and then some more. So there was a gap, right? You know? Yeah. Directly in this gap, right? I look like, and I says, "Well, what I think I'm looking at," I says, "is an oblong object, literally oblong object." I says, and it obviously, from where we were, it looked about this level with the top of the trees. Whether it was or not, I don't know. You couldn't, you know. I says, oblong object. I says, it's like glowing at the bottom, like pale, but like a light.
Yeah.
And then I said, at the top, I said, it's got like a green aura around it, like a green. Yeah. But it was in the shape, like, you know what I mean? This oblong shape. He says, that's exactly what I've seen. I went, well, I can't understand that. I says, I don't even know what would be there, you know.
Now, what did he do? Did he film it?
Do you know? I think he filmed something, Paul, but I don't know whether he filmed that. You know, and like I say, we both saw it. But the funny thing, you know, I mean, it showed up on the camera, but then with the naked eye, you couldn't see it. So because I'm not tech savvy at all, Andy says obviously this side, it's heat source as well, like, you know what I mean. but it was definitely something there, Paul.
Well, that's
Without a doubt.
interesting. Yeah, it's interesting.
I don't know what it was. I couldn't. There's no houses there. Definitely, there's no farm buildings. There's no light. You know, like pollution or out like that. It was that plumb in the middle of the, you know, these trees, like sort of thing. You know, gaps in this tree. I thought, well, what the hell is that? Could not think it. We looked again. It had gone.
Yeah, we live in a strange area, don't we? So was that the end of the night then? Was that everything?
Fucking Paul, you're joking. No way. No. Well, by this time it was rolling on to about 10:30, something like that. So yeah, we thinking because, you know, we wanted to stay as long as we could. You know what I mean? And next thing, there's Andy sat in chair next to me, like sort of thing, and I was stood up, and he looked over to me, like sort of thing, and he just looked up in the sky. Anyway, I knew he was looking at something, and he didn't even say anything. And I looked, and there was some wispy clouds. You could still see like wispy clouds, obviously. And then all of a sudden, this bloody, I don't know. I thought it looked like an orb, like thing, came from behind this wispy cloud. And it just shot, literally, whoosh, like that, and disappeared. Didn't disappear.
So it didn't move. Obviously, I'm devil's advocate. It didn't move like a satellite. It moved really quick.
Oh no, because that's how I said straight away. Is it a satellite, Andy? Andy says not a chance. I went, is it a plane? No, nothing. No way. It was nothing. It was a sphere of light, and it bloody didn't have shift light. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whoosh, gone. It didn't disappear into clouds or out like that. It just gone.
Okay.
Like said, you saw it, Andy. I saw it. No, there you go. You know what I mean? We've seen it. By that time, you just, whoa, God.
Yeah.
It's what's you know? Is it because it's Midsummer's Day night, like, you know, whatever. We don't know. I don't know. Next thing, right? Joe says, I'm going to go down to the car. She says, I've got some cake. Thought we'll bring it on, you know.
So eating cake at midnight.
And I think I said to her, do you want me to walk down with? She said, no, I'm not frightened at dark. And you know where you said, how you get down to the car from there, Paul, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Off she goes, like. You can just see the top of the Joe's car, like from where we were, if I was stood up, right? So she gets down there, we're chatting, me and Andy, like sort of thing. I saw the tail light of Joe's car go up, the boot lights come on, so she's in the boot of the car, like sort of thing. But then, right directly in front of me, I'm looking, and I'm thinking, what's that? Thought, that's somebody there. Thought, what I thought, light, red, perfect red, intense red light, like nearly at eye level, where in fact, because I was sat down, like, and I'm looking, I'm thinking, is that somebody walking? Like, whatever, I don't know. And you know where the Model Air Club is, right?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
It wasn't there. It was really nearly on the edge of the you know what I mean, the club.
Yeah.
And that bit of scrubland, that area there, like, you know what I mean? And I thought, well, what's happening here? Anyway, I'm looking, I'm thinking, that's not moving. It's not moving. That. I thought, it can't be a car. It's not a car, vehicle, nothing.
Well, you'd have seen a vehicle. There's no vehicles can get up there, is there? So you know it's not a vehicle. So what did you do?
Intense, Paul. So I thought, right. And I stood up and I said, Andy, I went, come here, look at this. And he got up, like, I says, look at that red light. He went, what red light? I went, that there, look, right in front of me there, right in there. He went, I can't see out. I went, you must be able to tell if it's there. No, I can't see out. He got his camera, nothing. He went, Steve, there's nothing there. I went, I'm looking at it now, Andy. I went, I said, right, okay. I said, I'll bloody prove this something there. And being big, brave me, right? I thought, right, I'm off. I'm going. And I walked down, right? And I shouldn't have done. I know that because I walked into his crop, right? The potatoes. But there's only a little bit planted.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
That thing. I thought, no, sod this. I want to find out what this is or what it is. Because if it is somebody prattling about, I want to know. And as I'm walking down, thinking it's not moving. That stationary, right? Anyway, I thought as I got a look closer, I got a bit closer, and I thought, whatever it is, it ain't moving. And I don't know how far. I couldn't say how far I was off it, but I don't know, 20, 30 foot maybe from where I was stood. And I thought, right. And I says, who's there? I says, is that somebody prattling about? Like that. And then all of a sudden, from my right, this other one, right, came into view, literally came into view, and it went right neat like that to the other one, right? And it was all intents and purposes like a couple of bloody red eyes, right, looking directly at me, like what I thought were eyes, you know what I mean?
But originally though, it couldn't have been. You're looking at a single red point.
No. And on reflection, Paul, there weren't. I called them eyes, but it wasn't. There weren't.
Yeah, got it. Yeah.
What the bloody hell? What? Anyway, with that, I just was looking, and then they just slowly went away like that, disappeared, right? And
that one sounded like it unnerved you, did it?
Well, I don't know really. I don't know. I wasn't. No, I won't say unnerved. I was thinking, more puzzled. I thought,
right,
okay. Bloody hell. You know what I mean?
I'm conscious, Steve, that there's probably going to be a few questions I haven't even looked backed up from here.
No.
So was there anything? What did anything? Because we'll answer a few, providing you've got 5 minutes, have you?
Yeah, I'm okay. Whatever.
Yeah. Oh, so did anything else occur that on that night last night? Because Joe, I think we've missed some of it here. Because Joe told me that you heard some drumming.
All right. Yeah. Going back to it, yeah. Well, it was Andy who heard it first.
So Andy heard it, yeah.
He said, "There's the drums. I can hear this drumming." I didn't hear it. Joe, I don't think Joe heard it. Like anyway, and he was smiling. He went, "This drumming." He went, "There's some drumming." And as I sort of listened, I caught tail end of something like a, and that was it. He definitely heard this rhythmic drumming.
And was that from inside the mound?
I would say yes, definitely from that.
Isn't that fascinating? No matter what anybody thinks, whether you believe that there's something unusual there or in any of these locations, we've got Andy. I've met Andy. I've obviously met Joe and met you. And Andy's very quiet, isn't he? He's very kind quiet. Of reserved guy. Yeah. And
I'll tell you what, he's a guy who you'd lend him your last tenner. I'll tell you that. You know what I mean? One of them guys. And honestly, he is. Well,
it's brilliant that you've gone there and you've actually had an experience. So if we've got 5 minutes, I'll try and get through a few of these questions. Is that okay?
Yeah,
this one, you can see how far back we're going. So Don Kiddick, Steve, have all your encounters been outdoors? It would be interesting to know if you've had any ghost experiences. Remember, Steve, if you have, let's not have a detailed one because I want to get through a few questions.
Yeah, no. Outdoors, yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I would say so. I've not that I was telling Joe last night. I don't think I've ever had a ghost one.
No. Okay. Let me just go down. I'm sure there will be some more here. I've said that, and I didn't know. Right, let's have a look. Yep. So, Lisa, unnerving. This happened to me with a particular bird kept here. Oh, now we're going back to the sounds, Lisa. I've got that. Yeah. So the sound that we've just played in the dike. And we'll play that last one more time. Then other people, if they've missed it, know what we're alluding to. I've put recording equipment in Dane's Dyke. This one's been in 5 days. And there's 6 instances of owls hooting. And you're getting this at the end of it. Which is odd. And the sound that you heard at the end, to me, sounds like a door slamming or something. But the sound that you heard is different every time, but it's that kind of sound. Do you know what I mean? So if you thought it could be a gun, but if somebody's got a gun, you'd think it'd sound same, maybe. I don't know. So that's that. So, yeah, you were hearing it when you saw lights and UFOs. It's strange, Lisa. Thank you for that. Let's have a look. There we go. Jan and Andrew, some people say they have had lasting psychological stroke or paranoia, unease after seeing them. Have you had any of this, Steve?
No, not really. No, nothing paranoia, nothing like that. No.
And just as it's relevant, and it's not in capitals, but we'll put it up. Owls. First one like a door slamming, second one almost like a gun, but I don't think it is. Yeah, thanks, Jane. It's difficult. We're never going to know because obviously all we've got is an audio recorder. But incidentally, they're great, them audio recorders. They just run and run and run. Really good. So let's just see what else we've got here. I think Lisa again. So I'm not favouring Lisa, people. It's just as they're coming up, and I'm meant to do this. I heard a particular bird when I saw these UFOs. It was uncanny. Well, interesting. What was the bird, Lisa? Was it an owl by chance? We might not get to your answer, but we shall see. Let's have a look. And thank you, Alison, Lee, and Gemma for moderating tonight. Really appreciated. Let's have a look here, Barry. Did the little man say anything, or was he by himself?
Yeah, I would say he was all by himself, Barry. Yeah, didn't say a thing. He had when it sort of half turned, like it was like I don't know what the look was on his face. Like it wasn't a puzzled look, but it was like a knowing look, if you know what I mean. As though I've seen you, you've seen me. Thank you.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Let's have a look here. What were Steve's father's experiences? I don't know whether you want to touch on any of them, or in fact, we could just say like they were cryptid related, UFO related, whatever, because we can save it if you've got some to share for another Sunday.
Yeah, no. I mean, one in particular, it was I would say, I don't know, ghostly or whatever, and it was he swears blind. It was and all he can describe it was a night on a horseback.
Really?
Literally.
That's interesting.
But it couldn't have been. And he said, because he says it was you couldn't see the legs on the horse, and where the legs on the horse was there was a hedge. So
yeah,
you know what I mean?
And there is a few more questions if you're okay for a minute. But just before we do that, I just want to say, because I think I ought to say anyway about the Truth Proof books, and I say it every week. They're available on Amazon as Kindle downloads. The Wolflands DVD, as we do every week. Myself and Les, they've done the Wolflands DVD. That's on Amazon Prime, or if you order it through the truthproof.uk website, it'll be posted the next day, providing it's not weekend, because I make sure that they do go out the very next day. Likewise, all the paperback books, truthproof.uk. Any overseas sales, visit the eBay link, and then they can go through global shipping. And that didn't take too long, did it? So let's just jump to another question here. Dave Barker, let's have a look. What are you doing on my land? Not being sarcastic, but usually the farmer's first question.
yeah, that's right. Yes, true, Dave. Yeah.
Do you know something?
I mean, but I look at it this way. I mean, the farm had been in generations, like sort of thing, calling family and that, like, and whatever. And I always think, now, was it it's their land, obviously.
Yeah.
Were they, and I do believe they were there millennia before.
Well, you mean the intelligences, the little beings are tied to the land? Is that what? Yeah.
Oh, definitely, Paul, definitely.
Yeah. But if we were going to talk about the farmer, and I've no axe to grind with farmer, by the way, but I met the old farmer, the father, years ago. He'd got an avid interest in UFOs and unexplained, and I visited him at farm a couple of times. And I think they moved there. Somebody might correct me, but I think they moved there in 1964. And it were interesting because he said, I've heard all stories about that bloody burial mound. He says, and I've walked up and down it, over it, on it, stood on it. He says, I've never experienced anything. And he wanted to, do you know what I mean? But he'd got UFO accounts and experiences and orange spheres of light to talk about. And a really interesting one from a neighbouring farm where there was a knock at the back door, and the lady of the house went to the back door, which looked onto nothing but dark fields and farmland. And she she said there were people at the back door, but then when she looked into the field, there's an object in the field with I've got the drawing still, with a trunk like an elephant, picking things up with a light on it. Really, real weird story. Once again, people, one for another time. Let's just have a look, see if we've got any more. If we haven't, we shall. Right, let's have a look, Barry. Let's have a look. Do you think they maybe alien? Do you think maybe an alien touched your face? Well, just before he answers that, Barry, let's look at it another way. I mean, these little beings, if Steve's telling truth, and if a host of other people are telling truth, and I have no reason to say that they're not, they are alien, aren't they? They're alien to everything that's normal and natural to us as humans. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Whichever way you want to perceive an alien, isn't it? Whatever. But whatever it was, it definitely touched me, and that was it. You know what I mean? Just to, I don't know, maybe just to say, hey, you're here. We know you're here. Just, I don't know, be respectful. Like, so
are you going to go again this week?
I will be. Without a doubt. I'll tell you what. I could be up there at 4 o'clock, 2-3 o'clock in the morning. It doesn't bother me. You know what I mean?
No.
It just fascinates the hell out of me.
So Lisa says Steve could be clairaudient. He's probably clairvoyant. Clairaudient, as in hearing the spirit or the perceived entity speaking to you.
Yeah, I must admit, I don't think I've ever heard that anything like that, Lisa. I don't know. I mean, my mother was very intuitive, shall we say? So who knows? I've never put it to test that.
Right, just one more here. Let's have a look. Steve, the hand, was it? I know what he's already said. I love that thumbnail with that swan. It's funny as out in it. Warm or cold? How big, male or female? How did it feel? I know you said it was hot, but how did it feel?
It felt soft. I've got to say, it didn't feel like a man's hand. I wouldn't say that. It was definitely, soft. I would.
Do you know there's a story from Willie Howe? You might know it. It's a very old one, goes back into annals of folklore, where I think somebody from one of the neighbouring villages, most likely Burton Fleming or Wold Newton, one of the fairy folk was said to have taken a shine to him, and I fell in love with him. And every day, apparently, if he went to the burial mound, she would give him a piece of gold. And have you heard this story? And she did. And he accepted the pieces of gold and became one of the wealthiest men in the area. But the secret was that they should never share the secret. And he did. He became too bold, and he told people how he'd acquired his wealth. And the story goes that he went to the burial mound on this particular day, evening, morning, whatever, and he was beat up. He was beaten and battered by unseen hands. And eventually he lost all his wealth and all his luck, and everything just went up. It just went sideways for him. So there we go. Right, Ian McFadden. What's the correlation between orbs of light that appear in the majority of paranormal? Good questions, Ian. What do you think? It's a really good question, because everything, I'll just answer this one a little bit in my mind. When we look at spirit apparitions and hauntings, people talk about orbs of light. UFO activity, we talk about orbs of light. Cryptid sightings in the forests and everywhere. A lot of times people report seeing spheres of light. So, the connection or the correlation is the fact that these orbs appear. Maybe I'm not saying things are traveling in them, but they go hand in hand with the unexplained, without a doubt. What's your thoughts on that?
Definitely. I think there's some form of energy, Paul. Yeah, whether they're spirits or not, I don't know, but there's definitely some form of energy, without a doubt.
Okay, let's have a look. And Carol Poynter, Magsu, Margaret Hughes, Disabled Welshman, Rick Bennett. I'm just going down these questions. Steve 071. I think we've never done with questions. I'm just, although I am a good bit behind here. So just bear with me. And we've got one here. So I don't want to read it out and it not be kind of appropriate. Right. Let's have a look. Steve is referring to Joe Hickey Hall. Has she recorded a podcast with Steve as a guest? No, Steve's not talked on any podcast. To my knowledge, Steve, have you?
No. I know Joe. I know about Joe's work, and it's brilliant. You know what I mean? I think she's one of the leading ones there is, personally, in Britain.
Incidentally, a lot of the people in chat will join us hopefully for the Truth Proof live stream. Sorry, for the last transmission live stream on Tuesday. And we did say that we were going to try and get a guest on to talk about the Fae or crop circles. I hope it comes off, because I did contact Jo, and I know she's been busy. It's been, longest day of the year, and she'll have been involved in all that goes with that. So maybe she'll get back to me. And I've also contacted Mark Ollie. So we shall see. I shall check my emails when I see Laura's in, my other daughter. So we've got two of them in tonight. Then we've got Gemma and Laura. So that's interesting. And let's have a look. Let's just do this. Rick Bennett. Let's see that. Has there been multiple sightings of knights on horseback in? Oh, there has been in Rivington. Okay, Rick. And I wouldn't have known that. I know we used to live in Conisbrough, myself and Mary, years ago, very close to Conisbrough Castle. And they were said, although I never saw it, to be the apparition, the ghostly form of a knight on horseback walking around the castle. What I find interesting with these sightings, and I'm not saying they're not true, Rick, and your dad's sighting, we've got two spiritly forms then, haven't we? We've got the knight or the person on the horseback, and the ghost of the horse, which kind of, I don't know, it throws it for me that I do believe the people are seeing these things, but I just wonder if we're seeing something that some other intelligence wants us to see. I don't know. Just thoughts. Yeah. Let's have a look. I'm not sure. All right. Shout out. Oh, well, we'll put this on. Shout out to Les. If you're watching, hope you're doing okay. Well, Les is doing okay. We were going to do some filming tomorrow, but we're not going to manage it. So thanks for that, Rod. And yeah, I'm sure all's good. Let's just do that. Please, right. Let's have a look. Please subscribe to Steve Stockton's channel. So that's among the missing. It's a brilliant channel, and there's a guest that we need to get on, Steve Stockton. As I've spoke on Steve's channel quite a few times, it's a monster channel. It's absolutely huge. And that's about it. We're just about out of questions. So as a summing up, Steve, because I can tell just by talking to you tonight that you've probably got another 5 or 6 stories, even if they're not your first-hand accounts, the ones maybe that you want to share from family members such as your dad. Would you like to come on again and maybe share some of them with us?
Yeah, love to, Paul. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no,
it's been great, and you've made my life really easy there, Steve. And we've had in between 250 and 300 people in chat. Brilliant. And I hope you guys have enjoyed it as much as I have. It literally, Steve's not prepared for any of this. I don't think you've made any notes even, have you? You're looking at your phone because it kept dinging.
It was just my granddaughter. She's just put something on. She just said, like, you know what I mean? Well, she just said, she says, do you think it was my late wife touching my face last night?
Okay, yeah. Well, who can say? We can't rule anything out, can we?
No, I can't, Paul. No, definitely not. No.
Well, from myself, I'm going to say good night to you, Steve, and I'm going to say good night to everybody else. And thank you very much.
Lovely. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Stay safe.
You too. Take care. Bye-bye.
Oh, wow.
Saw it twice, so I was like, oh my god.
That was just weird.
I always used to see a light coming up,
yeah,
like a headlight, but there was nobody there.